This a Great Game or What with the Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian. I am his son, Jeff Kurkjian. Dad, rivalry week, which is a tough word to say. It's one of my least favorite words in the English language, along with brewery. Hate that word.
Theater,
hate it.
I have trouble with that word. I'm a writer and I have trouble with that word. Thank goodness I never go to the theater because I would stumble all over the actual word. Right.
So rivalry week, gosh, I'm still struggling.
I told you.
We're gonna keep all this in for sure. So we're gonna be talking about that, of course, tomorrow on your feed. Jim DeShays will be our guest. He is the color commentator for the Chicago Cubs, along with our friend Boog Shambi, which is awesome.
Right. They're the best pair in baseball. I'm not just saying that. And Jim DeShays is the best color analyst in the game, and he will make you laugh, and you will learn something talking to Jim DeShays. Please don't miss it. He will make you laugh out loud.
So wherever you're listening right now, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to share it with a friend. And speaking of rivalry week, I feel like we're getting a rivalry between two of your grandchildren, Dad. I have it on good authority. So this past weekend, I was at a wedding, and it was in Baltimore. So my wife and I, we drove down, stopped at your house first, drove past Baltimore, went to your house, dropped our daughter off with you for 2 overnights with Cat and Pop. I have to say, first of all, thank you, because we had an amazing time at the wedding. But you also have 2 grandchildren that live 10 minutes away from you. My sister's kids, Carson and Emma and McKinley, my daughter, they are just about 4 months apart. And while playing with you, Emma asserted to my daughter, McKinley, no, that's my pop.
All right, that's enough of that, Jeff. I was feeding both of them at the time. And as we know, 2 and 1 year old granddaughters, that's what they love to do most is eat food. So I was feeding something to McKinley, and Emma got a little bit jealous. That's the whole story there. Jeff, we had a great time with McKinley. She was absolutely adorable. And she was so well behaved, and I think we did a good job with him. In the summation, though, Jeff, I did leave something out. I probably should have told you. I hope it's okay. Instead of chocolate milk or juice in the morning, her and I had a couple of Diet Mountain Dews each. Is that okay? I wasn't sure if that was the right thing to do. Reading the box scores, no.
I'm sure she ate up to see how many walks Shohei Ohtani had.
Right, he's all over the takeaways. Jeff,
Dad, hold on real quick. You're gonna hate this, but I just have to tell the people what an amazing grandfather you are. You are on the ground, crawling around with them, picking up toys, playing, and you're gonna roll your eyes and you're gonna say, "Come on, people don't need to," but they need to know you are the best grandfather a kid could ask for. You are so active. You're on the floor playing with the kids, doing bits, making them laugh. You're just the best, Dad.
Well,
and I can't thank you enough.
That's very good. But speaking of rivalries, Jeff, I was thinking about rivalries between a father and a son. And I don't think you and I really have a rivalry in any kind. As we established very early on in your life and Kelly's life, that Pop is only good for 3 things: baseball, basketball, and feeding the dog. So I think, and that's a direct quote, as you know, Jeff. So I think we can acknowledge that I'm better than you at baseball, basketball, and feeding the dogs. But you are better than me at everything else, fixing things, doing stuff around the house, technological things, everything else. And we didn't play video games together because it was too tedious to me. Do we have a rivalry at all, Jeff? Father, son? I know we're not supposed to do that, but we don't play fantasy football against each other because I don't have time to do that. I don't even think we have a rivalry.
No, we don't, Dad. We don't have a rivalry, I don't think. But I will say we did have arguably our biggest disagreement of our lives, adult lives, I should say, just a couple of weeks ago when I exclaimed that I felt I could outrun Kyle Schwarber to first base and you were so insulted. You were so upset at me for making that assumption when I have a bum ankle and a bum foot and plantar fasciitis like nobody's ever seen before.
Jeff,
So I would say, and you convinced me otherwise. I have to say, I don't think I could beat him to first right now.
Jeff, you're a radio talk show host with a broken ankle. You think you can beat a major league player? A few years ago, Kyle Schwarber stole 10 bases in the major leagues. He's a little bit chunky, but he can run. The fastest you ever ran in your life. You would never beat Kyle Schwarber in a race. He's 4-4 to first base. That's not exactly slow, okay? Let's just make sure we understand who we're talking about here. A professional athlete who can run. He's not fast, but he's faster than you, and it's not close.
We actually decided not to bring this up on the podcast because we thought I would look so stupid. And hence the only reason why I brought it up right now. So, but Dad, speaking of this wedding, this is a tradition that me and my buddies, so my friends, we've been in a fantasy football group since we were in the 7th grade pretty much. And we have a group text called Ball is Life. Okay, so stupid. But there's 12 of us in it. And at every wedding that one of us has had now, we play basketball on the morning of or the morning before the wedding. So my buddy Joey, who's gotten more mentions than maybe Aaron Judge on this podcast at this point. Joey got married to his lovely bride, Jess. Oh my gosh. And Dad, the power was out at their wedding venue. They had no power at the wedding venue. So the morning of the wedding, they moved venues to a completely different place. It was unbelievable, and it could not have happened to two nicer people and two calmer people. All of the women of the brides and girlfriends of Ball is Life, fittingly called Ball is Wife, they all said they would have cried and exploded and been the worst. And Jess, the bride, was like, oh, yep, here's what's going on. This is what we're going to do. It was incredible, Dad. The wedding was amazing, and thanks to you, we were able to enjoy it. I want to give a shout out really fast to Glen L. Dragons. They won in overtime. It's an inside joke with one of Joey's brothers. I promised him I'd give him a shout out because he was jealous of how many shout outs his brother Joey got. But the Glen L. Country School, I was a little tipsy when I wrote this down. Dragons, you won in overtime. Congratulations to you. And another shout out to Mrs. Kelly, as I call her, Ben Kelly's mother, who is our #1 fan of the podcast. She listens to every single episode. Dr. Kelly, her husband, they have amazing children, one of which I grew up with. So anyway, sorry, that was my little recap of the wedding.
Jeff, if we had moved your sister's wedding on the morning of the wedding, the venue, it would have been a complete panic in our house. Of course, the Mellon Auditorium was pretty darn big. I'm not sure where we could have gone, maybe to the White House, but nothing else could have housed our group for Kelly's wedding. All right, enough of that stuff.
Yeah, so just a big shout out to Joey and Jess, and thank you to all of you for listening, because we had so many people who were commenting at that wedding, Dad, about our conversation about the orange crushes I had at that bachelor party. Orange crushes served at the wedding, mind you, so I had another one, and it was fantastic. So We're going to have to do an episode with orange crushes at some point. Dad, finally, we'll jump into baseball. Thank you for letting me talk babies and weddings. What are your takeaways from this weekend?
Well, the obvious one is that the Orioles fired their manager, Brandon Hyde. They are now heading into Monday's games, 15-30, Jeff. I did not see this coming. Nobody saw this coming. This is a shocking fall from grace that the Orioles have made this year, and I'm not sure they're getting out of this. Tony Mazzolino is their new manager, and I feel a little bit sorry for him, Jeff. His first game as a manager in the major leagues, in the top of the first inning against the Nationals, he had to go take his starting pitcher out of the game because he got hit so hard. First game as a manager, before his team even got a chance to bat, he had to take his pitcher out of the game. That's a difficult start to your managerial career. And then the second game, the Orioles were down 7-0 in the second inning. So first game, 6-0 in the first, second game, 7-0 in the second. So let's hope for the Orioles' sake that they turn this around, but this is very, very discouraging, and they have a long, long way to go.
I mean, that is just a little bit of a different start than new manager Don Kelly of the Pirates, right?
He's managed 2 Saturday games in his career now, Jeff, as a manager. He's been thrown out of both of them. So we wonder about that. And wasn't Joey's bachelor party at Camden Yards? Didn't you go to an Oriole game?
Yes, we were at Camden Yards. They played the Toronto Blue Jays, and it was a fun time. But I can admittedly say I don't think any of us remember who won that game.
Right, of course. That's because you had 12 Orange Crushes each. Okay. All right. Now, you mentioned Shohei Ohtani, Jeff. No matter what he does, good or bad, and very little bad, he always seems to draw attention because he's just amazing. So he's had 4 bobblehead days in his career, 4 already, and he's hit a home run on 3 of them, which is just classic Shohei Ohtani. He rises to the occasion like very few others. I just saw this the other day. He scored 11 runs in the first inning this year. In the first inning. So Andrew Vaughn, for instance, of the White Sox, Sal Perez, and a bunch of other guys, good players, haven't scored 11 runs all season in all the innings. And the Houston Astros have scored 9 runs in the first inning. And Shohei by himself has scored 11 runs in the first inning, which is amazing. Shohei also hit home run number 16, which gave him the major league lead. And in the same week, he got struck out by a position player. Catcher for the A's, Johnny Pareda, struck him out. So wherever he goes, amazing things happen. You agree?
Yeah, well, this goes back to the whole conversation, Dad, we had with the traditional leadoff guy is not the traditional leadoff guy anymore. That allows Shohei Ohtani to score that many runs. But I don't know if this is a Kurkjian, but even though he's been playing so well, the Angels, his former team, swept the Dodgers in rivalry week. And that's the first time the Angels have swept the Dodgers in 15 years.
Right. And the first time the Dodgers have been swept in a 3-game series since last July when the Phillies beat them. So, yeah, it's pretty hard to do. Again, the beauty of baseball, Jeff. Didn't see the Orioles coming this bad. Didn't see the Angels sweeping the Dodgers, all sorts of things. And one thing I didn't see coming, Jeff, is the Twins winning 13 games in a row. I did their game on the radio a few weeks ago in Minneapolis, Astros against the Twins. Twins were not looking good. And then they reel off 13 straight wins and have 34 consecutive scoreless innings, which is their longest streak since they moved to Minneapolis, St. Paul in 1961. And what I love about this, one of the guys leading the charge is Cody Clemens, Roger Clemens' son, who's banged around, got DFA'd by the Phillies, and in his first 15 games with the Twins, he had 3 homers, knocked in 8 runs, down an OPS over 1,000. Just another reminder, Jeff. The game is so unpredictable that Cody Clemens, who looked like he was lost for a while, has come in and helped the Twins win 13 games in a row.
Well, it speaks volumes, Dad, to a guy who is kind of platooning all over the place for a different team is finally given a chance to play every day. And this is a game where you need rhythm, right? You need at-bats. You need to show up. So, Phillies fans can sit there. Happens to teams all the time. You lose a guy, he ends up playing every day, and he's better for a different team. But there is a million factors, including they don't have a spot for him every day. And so he's playing better when he plays every day, and that's a fact.
Right. And speaking of the Phillies, Bryce Harper drove in a run number 1,000 in his career. He's 32 years old. But just for a little context, Bryce Harper is going to the Hall of Fame someday. He's on a Hall of Fame track, obviously. Hank Aaron had 2,297 RBIs in his career. So Bryce Harper gets to 1,000, and he's still almost 1,300 behind Hank Aaron. That's how many runs Hank Aaron drove in his career.
And how many current players? I'm just looking through the list now. It seems like there's only a few current players who have more. Nolan Arenado, Carlos Santana, Giancarlo Stanton, Andrew McCutchen, Manny Machado. That might be all I'm seeing right now, though.
Right.
Oh, Paul Goldschmidt's on that list, too. So
1,000 RBIs is quite a milestone. But he's not even close to halfway to Hank Aaron. Just show. And speaking of RBIs, Wilmer Flores going into Monday's game of the Giants led the major leagues in RBIs with 42. Now, I did not see that coming, Jeff. Now, it was helped, of course, by a 3-homer, 8 RBI game in San Francisco the other day, which gave you more 3-homer games in that ballpark than Barry Bonds had. And Barry Bonds never had a 3-home run game in that ballpark, had other 3-homer games and everything. And by the way, Wilmer Flores has 14 walk-off plate appearances. Plate appearances, you can walk with the bases loaded, get hit with the base loaded, ground ball to score a run, sacrifice fly. It doesn't have to be a hit. And the only active player with more walk-off plate appearances than Wilmer Flores is Bryce Harper. I mean, Wilmer Flores has had a good career, Jeff, but I did not see him with 14 walk-off plate appearances and leading the league in RBIs through Sunday. Just the beauty of the sport.
It's what makes baseball the best.
Right. And last thing, Jeff, in the takeaways, I saw a play the other day that I don't think I've ever seen before. And Jeff, we talk about this all the time. We've been playing baseball for 150 years, played well over 200,000 games. I estimate that I've seen 4,000 games in person in my life. And this was on TV, so I wasn't there. But Wilyer Abreu of the Red Sox went over the fence in right center field and brought a ball back in to play. And Ceddanne Rafaela was there to catch it. So I've seen it where two teammates drop a ball and the other one catches it, like Bob Boone and Pete Rose famously in front of the dugout on a foul pop-up. This was a home run ball that was taken back into the stadium and caught by another outfielder who almost never, they're not trained anymore, Jeff, to back up on that situation. But because he was backing up, that became an out. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that. And that's what we love so much about baseball. Every day, Jeff, you go to the ballpark, you might see something that you've never seen before.
Let's jump right into the Kurkjians. What do you have?
All right, the box score line of the week goes to Mackenzie Gore of the Nationals against the Orioles the other night. 3 2/3 innings, Jeff, 10 hits allowed, and 9 strikeouts. So I checked with Frank with the Elias because only he can find these things. So only one other time since 1893 when the mound was moved to 60 feet, 6 inches. I just love it, Jeff, that it hasn't moved since 1893. How did they know that 60 feet, 6 inches was the right distance? And how arbitrary is 60 feet, 6 inches, but that's what they ended up. Not 60 feet, not 61, 60 feet, 6 inches. The only other guy to have a pitching line quite like that was Noah Syndergaard in 2015. He had 4 innings pitched, 10 hits allowed, and 10 strikeouts. So those are the only 2 times that a pitcher allowed that many hits, had that many strikeouts in 4 innings or fewer of a major league start. And it's just amazing. And in that game, Jeff, Jorge Lopez got the victory for the Nationals. And that gave him a 6-0 record this year. He's a reliever. He's pitched 20 innings this year. And he had 6 wins. So at the time of his 6th victory as a relief pitcher, throwing a total of 20 innings, he had only 1 fewer win than the Rockies had all season. I mean, so I checked with Frank again. How rare is it for anyone to have 6 victories pitching only 20 innings in a season? And it's only happened 3 other times since 1893, the last by Jeff Nelson in 2000. So when you ask these curious questions and you get these amazing answers, it just makes me smile out loud.
And Brian Dill, big shout out. He hit us up at greatgameorwhat.com. He said, I was looking at some stats and discovered that Jorge Lopez is 6-0 and he has an ERA of 7.20. How often does a pitcher have 6 wins, no losses, and an ERA over 7? I mean, I thought it was so crazy when I saw that email come through, and now here we are talking about 6-0.
Well,
It's insane.
again, Jeff, this is why people pay no attention to wins and losses anymore, because of stats like this. However, I still claim that in the case of, say, Max Fried, who's got nearly a 700 winning percentage and has carried the Yankee staff in his career, almost 700 winning percentage, you need to pay attention to those things once in a while. All right. Also, Cal Quantrill, the son of Paul Quantrill, who pitched in the big leagues for a long time, Sunday had an immaculate inning. Now, Jeff, you know what an immaculate inning is. Explain.
9 pitches, 9 strikes, 3 strikeouts, inning over.
Right. And the last player for the Mariners to do that was Jesus Sanchez in 1998. It's a very... it happens 2 or 3 times at most per year. Now, we had a discussion the other day at ESPN, Jeff, and one of the producers said it cannot be an immaculate inning if somebody makes contact with a pitch. Like if he fouls a pitch off, it's not an immaculate inning. I thoroughly disagree. If you throw a pitch by a guy and he fouls it back or hits one down the right field line foul, it's still a strike. I'm not going to get into 9 pitches. Either he swung and missed them all or took them all. If you make contact, it's a strike. 9 pitches, 3 strikeouts, that's an immaculate inning. Am I wrong about that?
What about a drop third strike?
That's still an immaculate inning because
it doesn't look nearly as pretty. And immaculate would
we're not
be defined as beautiful.
Well, we're not going to penalize the pitcher because the catcher dropped the third strike and had to throw it to first base. We had some great names, Jeff, and I'm going to have to read some of these. I may even have to look down at my notebook. On Saturday, the Nationals pitched Zach Brixey, spelled his last name Brzykck. I repeat, Brzykck. That's Zach Brixey. He pitched for the Nationals. And on the same day for the Brewers, Rob Zastryzny, and I've used his name a million times and I still have to pronounce it properly. Zastryzny pitched on the same day. You spell Rob's last name Zastryzny. So several years ago, I did the baseball fix. And the first baseball fix we did was on Rob's birthday. And I asked him all about this ridiculous name that he has. And he says, no one has ever pronounced my name properly on the first shot. He said it has been mangled worse than any name he's ever seen. So he's playing in a high school game once, and he told me that the poor public address announcer just mangled his name so badly the first 2 times up that when he came to the plate the third time, he was introduced as now batting the first baseman, Rob Smith. He changed his name to Rob Smith because he wasn't about to mess with his poor name the third time around. We love that. Speaking of names, Jeff, Jake Berger, I told you this, faced Brian King the other day in the Astros-Rangers series. So for at least the third time that I can remember, we had a Berger-King matchup. And I asked Jake Berger about that one time. I said, do you get a kick out of it too when you face a guy named King and it's Burger King? And he goes, yeah, and he laughs out loud. He goes, of course I do. He said, the memes after the game the next day, he said, they're absolutely hilarious. And they hit my computer at 1,000 miles an hour. Burger King. And
I'm shocked you just used the word meme in a sentence. Well, this is mind-blowing.
Right. I've only sent one meme in my life, Jeff. We've been over this, right? I accidentally... Oh, no. Sorry. I got it mixed up with an emoji. This is how bad I am. Jeezy peasy. I am so bad. A meme and an emoji. All right. I've never sent a meme. I don't even know how to do that. I sent one emoji, and it was an accident. I sent a butt emoji to Carl Ravitch during a game once, and it was an emoji of a cow. and I didn't even know what I was doing. And he sent me back a text like, what is this? You sent me a cow. And I said, what? So I've sent one emoji. It was a mistake, and it was a cow, and it was sent to Ravi while he was broadcasting a game.
I'm going to quietly challenge members of our family, that's you who listen to the show, to send us some Tim Kurkjian memes. You can create them yourselves. You can email me, jeff@greatgameorwhat.com, because I want to see your memes of Tim Kurkjian, or me for that matter, but way more likely to find and come up with good ones for my dad. That way you can be sending memes.
Right. We're going to have that cartoon bubble coming out of my mouth, and it's going to say, I am a dope, because I just mixed up meme and emoji, which aren't even close. Oh, poor Pop-Up. All right, last thing, Jeff. On Sunday, I got a kick out of this. Victor Scott II of the Cardinals. So he goes by Victor Scott and then 2 Roman numerals, the second. He faced Daniel Lynch the fourth. So it's Daniel Lynch, IV, the fourth, of the Royals. So that was the pitching matchup. So we had a 2 and a 4 face each other. And guess what inning they faced each other in?
The second and the fourth?
No, they faced each other one time.
Oh, only once?
Yeah.
In the fourth inning with 2 outs?
No, they faced each other in the 6th inning. So 2
plus 4. Okay, all right.
So 2 faced 4 in the 6th inning.
Hold on one sec. Yeah, that checks out. 2 plus 4 is carry the 1. Got it.
All right, Jeff. All right, those are the Kurkjians. That was a lot of pointless, useless, nonsensical information, but this is what I love, and I'm going to keep doing it until someone tells me to stop.
Well, coming up next, we have On This Date in Baseball History, Dad. Also, in the year 2025, Kirk Gibson leading off a game. I've got something special for you, Dad. Little surprise for you on that. And a movie about baseball brothers. Another thing that my dad doesn't know about. It's all coming up next on Is This a Great Game or What?
There are a lot of things I don't know about. I can't wait to hear this.
Dad, let me throw it to commercial. We'll be right back. We're back on Is This a Great Game or What? Dad, on this date in baseball history, what do you have?
Well, on this date in 1945, the St. Louis Browns played the Yankees in a doubleheader, and Pete Gray of the Browns made 3 really good defensive catches. He got 4 hits, and he drove in 2 runs, and that's it's really important because he only had 1 arm. Pete Gray was the major leaguer who played in the big leagues during wartime, of course, but he played with 1 arm, and in a doubleheader, he got 4 hits and drove in 2 runs and made 3 really good defensive plays. That's pretty darn impressive. In 1984, Roger Clemens won his first major league game. Of course, he went on to win more Cy Young, 7 than anybody else. And I'll never forget, look, you can say what you want about Roger Clemens, all right? But I know I went to see the Yankees, this is a million years ago, on a Sunday, and I did not realize that Sunday was the late reporting time. Every Sunday, the Yankees were allowed to report late to spring training, to the game, to the ballpark that day. But I didn't know that, so I got there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm driving through the parking lot, and there's Roger Clemens playing catch with a football with the trainer out in the parking lot. So he was there at least at 7 o'clock in the morning on a day when they didn't have to be there till 11, and he was throwing a football in order to strengthen his arm. That's what he did. And I'll never forget also, Jeff, 1987, I was covering the Orioles, and we were in New York, and they just played the Yankees. And for some reason, Roger Clemens was staying in the hotel that we were staying in. And Edward Bennett Williams, the owner of the Orioles, saw me in the lobby that morning. And he goes, you know what I just saw? I just saw Roger Clemens come in from a run. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. And Roger Clemens had been running around, jogging, running through Manhattan, and he must have started at 6 in the morning, and he had pitched the night before. And Edward Bennett Williams, high-powered Washington lawyer, one of the most famous lawyers ever, just looked at me and said, now that is commitment. So you can say what you want about Roger Clemens. Don't you ever question how much he wanted to be great and how much he wanted to win.
Yeah, but he never struck out 30 in one game.
Right. Great story there, Jeff. I'm not going to repeat it, but it's hilariously funny. We've used it twice already this year.
So
Okay.
we'll say this to members of our family. If you know the joke. We won't explain. Continue.
Okay. 1999, Robin Ventura hit a grand slam in both ends of a doubleheader, which I get a big kick out of because Robin Ventura hit 18 grand slams in his career, tying Willie McCovey for the 5th most grand slams ever. Alex Rodriguez hit the most at 25. So Robin Ventura, I think, won 6 Gold Gloves, hit a ton of grand slams, was a brilliant defensive third baseman who made the bunt play as well as anyone I've seen other than Brooks Robinson. He was great. But Robin Ventura, as you know, Jeff, is known more for his fight with Nolan Ryan when he charged the mound against Nolan Ryan that time. And I'll tell this story again. So Robin Ventura, years later, and he was not proud of any of this, told me he got hit in the back by a pitch from Nolan Ryan. And he said it hurt so much that I couldn't even think straight anymore. I was seeing red. So I ran to the mound because I was so angry because it hurt so much. And I got halfway there and my head cleared. And I realized at that moment, oh my gosh, I'm charging the mound against Nolan Ryan, who was in his 40s. And Nolan Ryan, of course, grabbed him by the head and beat him over the head a bunch of times. But only Robin Ventura has such a wonderful sense of humor, such a wry sense of humor, would acknowledge that's what happened when he famously charged the mound against Nolan Ryan.
Do you have any more on this date?
Yeah, one more. And 2008, Mike Piazza retired. Let's make sure we understand. Hall of Fame catcher. For me, he's the greatest hitting catcher of all time, although now we're going to have to look at that again now that Josh Gibson's numbers have been brought in. I think now he has to be considered the greatest hitting catcher of all time. I just know that Mike Piazza was an amazing offensive player, a slightly better defensive player than people gave him credit for. And I'll never forget, Jeff, his last year was with the Padres. And every new Padre has to take a hand strength test where you grip something like this and it shows a reading of your hand strength. And Mike Piazza, in his final year in the big leagues, absolutely destroyed the club record for the greatest hand strength ever. And as Bruce Bochy told me, he said, it was like Herman Munster was on our team. And Jeff, you know how much I love sitcoms from the 60s. Anytime you can bring up Herman Munster in a complete sentence, you got me.
Dad, on this date in history, do you believe in life after love? Cher was born today.
Really?
79 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. And Armenian Cher, we have...
Thank you.
Well, we have some of the same blood. She's that's about it for her and I. The same blood, at least in some capacity.
That's a great trivia question. What do Cher, Kim Kardashian, and Tim Kurkjian have in common?
Well, and without boasting here, Jeff, I'm in the Armenian Sports Hall of Fame, and she's not. So take that, Cher.
Take that, Kim K. So, Dad, I got an email from a member of our family. And his name is Rob Hugh, and he had this to say, and I've been so excited to bring this up to you. Friday night's Tigers-Blue Jays game started with Alejandro Kirk at catcher. And Trip Gibson was the home plate umpire. Kirk Gibson to lead off the game. Absolutely love the show. Thank you. Pretty good, right?
Yeah. Look, Jeff, all of this stuff is nonsense. There's no point to any of it. And I still love it. It just shows how curious people can be. And I love that Mr. Hugh, what an interesting name to come up with such an observation, came up with this. And we implore all of our listeners and all of our viewers, if you have anything like that and you want to contribute to every Thursday's episode, I Am a Seamhead, please, we would love to have you on just to show how many people have an unhealthy, and I laugh about that, unhealthy obsession with baseball. It's the only sport I believe that brings that out in people, and I just love it.
Yeah, so if you ever want to send us an I Am a Seamhead, go into detail of the little things you love about this game, the things you obsess over, things you collect, information you store. You can email me a voice memo, jeff@greatgameorwhat.com. Don't be shy. We bring in a new voice memo every single Thursday. That's jeff@greatgameorwhat.com. Dad, I mentioned I have some movie news I wanted to share with you. And I'm not trying to pour pop you or gotcha, but are you familiar with Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Yeah, I think he's a AAA with the Dodgers. Is that right? It was a joke, Jeff.
Okay, good. Thank goodness.
Now you're going to explain.
He wrote Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
He wrote Hamilton. He wrote the musical In the Heights. He now currently writes the music for a lot of Disney movies. Off the top of my head, I know he did like Moana and Moana 2 and a couple other big movies. Encanto, I do believe. I know all these movies, folks, because I have a near 2-year-old at my house. So, but he was on a red carpet, Dad, where he said that he's working on a film that's about the Molina brothers.
Oh, really?
Benji, Jose, and Yadier Molina. And it kind of comes from the very beginning of it because they're all from the same town, Vega Alta, Puerto Rico.
Right.
They're all from Puerto Rico.
Right.
And so he's working on, everything he touches, Dad, is magic. It's amazing. I mean, think about how big Hamilton is, right? If he says it's happening, it's happening. And that means we can confirm that, at least to a certain degree, Lin-Manuel Miranda is a baseball fan.
There we go. And the Molina brothers, to have 3 catchers who were that good, especially defensively, and Yadier is going to be a Hall of Famer someday, is just like an amazing story of a family of catchers. And they were all so good. Well, I can't wait to watch that movie because it's a baseball movie and I love movies. And by the way, Jeff, just to finish, McKinley Hope and I, your daughter, we watched several movies while she was here, and she was just fascinated. So, I have a few suggestions. A couple she was just riveted to. So,
oh God, what did you show her? Like Shawshank Redemption or something?
No, Silence of the Lambs, which I thought. We figured if there's a lamb in it, she might enjoy it. Of course, we didn't watch Silence of the Lambs. We took good care of your daughter, and so happy that you and Emily got your daughter returned safely from Pop. We drove to Baltimore and dropped her off. It was so good.
I have a list of movies here I thought that you were going to say, including Mr. Holland's Opus, Parenthood, Dumb and Dumber. These are all the movies that you would suggest other people to watch. Thank you, Mr. Samsonite.
Right. Searching for Bobby Fischer.
Yeah.
Underrated movie. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. Yes.
I mean, Miracle, Remember the Titans. What else? Yeah. Like, what are some other Tim Kurkjian top movies you would suggest to somebody?
Well, you've already named all of the ones that I love so much. October Sky. I went on a field trip with you. They were showing October Sky. All the kids in the 3rd grade are watching. The movie's on in the bus, and poor Pop-Pop's at the front of the bus crying out loud. When he says, Dr. Von Braun is a great scientist, but he's not my hero. And here I'm weeping in the front of the car in the front of the bus with a bunch of 3rd graders. And a couple of the kids went back and said to you, what's wrong with your dad? He's crying up front. And I think you had to say, he's watching October Sky. That was enough.
Yeah, that really gave them more fuel to bully me. I really appreciate that.
Right.
Great movie, though.
It was great. He's not my hero.
Field of Dreams would be number 1 amongst them all. All right. Well, hey, tomorrow on the feed, we have Jim DeShays. It's going to be incredible. I'm so excited for this one.
Jim DeShays is takes the game very seriously. He takes his job very seriously, and he doesn't take himself very seriously, which is all good on every level.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening right now. Thank you for all of the reviews wherever you're listening. They've been flying in, which is awesome. Share it with a friend. Subscribe wherever you're listening to. And as always, thank you so much for being a part of our family.